The India deal is on here.
Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on it. We're just going to do it a different way.
Mr. President.
Nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs, and we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually. But he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now, and we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
In a landmark verdict, the United States, the Supreme Court has appended President Trump's signature economic policy. Hello and welcome to our special coverage. I'm Archana Solanki. The U.S. Supreme Court has struck down the global tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. 6 out of 9 Supreme Court judges, including Chief Justice Roberts, voted to scrap the tariffs. The court ruled U.S. International Economic Powers Act, an emergency law from 1970, does not authorize the president to impose tariffs on other nations. That power is only vested with the U.S. Congress. President Trump railed against the top court for the stinging rebuke and announced a new 10% global tariff. He also promised to work around the ruling and impose the duties. Trump lashed out at the Supreme Court, calling the 6 judges who ruled against tariffs as a disgrace to the nation.
On the trade deals that were negotiated using IEEPA tariffs, do those stand now, or are they have to be redone?
Well, some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't, and they'll be replaced with the other tariffs. Well, we're going straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was the absolute right to do. And that's taking place. That's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries.
Now, the question everybody is asking is that what does it mean for India? A White House official told CNBC that nations who've already struck a deal with the US will see their tariffs now drop to 10%. This effectively means tariffs in India will drop from 18% that was agreed by both nations to 10% now. Here's CNBC's Imon Javers reporting on what happens now.
I've got an important clarification here. I was just in the office of a White House official pinning down some details on this, and I don't think this information is in the market necessarily yet, so I want to walk through it. There's some question about this new 10% global tariff that the president announced in that briefing and who it would apply to. Because remember, as we went through the year last year, a number of countries and regions around the world came to trade agreements with the United States. A lot of those trade agreements set tariff rates that were higher than 10%. So what happens to those countries who already came to the table, already negotiated a trade agreement with the United States? Well, this White House official just confirming for me a short time ago that all of those agreements are now reset to 10% under this new tariff rate once it goes through. So the European Union, which was at 15%, now will be at 10. Japan was at 15%, now at 10. India was at 18, now at 10. South Korea was at 15, now at 10. And Vietnam will be the big winner here. They were at 20% under their trade agreement with the United States. They also come down to 10% under this new tariff that the president is imposing as of today. So I think that's an important nuance that a lot of people were trying to figure out over the past couple of hours, Mike, is exactly what did the president mean when he said that. And so that is, at least temporarily, a big win for those countries and regions. But the White House official clarifies, importantly, that that is only until these new authorities kick in and they have the opportunity to go through the formal process here, and they reserve the right to raise those tariff rates back up at some point to the higher number. So for the short term, there is a window where the tariffs will be much lower than they were. Ultimately, though, they could reset back to where they were under the agreement.
Now, while the overall tariff rate for Indian goods has dropped to 10%, some sectors will continue to face higher tariffs. The Supreme Court ruling does not impact the tariffs imposed using Section 232, which concerns US national security. So sectors like steel, aluminium and copper will continue to face 50% tariffs. Automobile and auto components will face a 25% tariff rate, along with timber and lumber at 10 to 25%. Now, President Trump also said that nothing changes about the trade deal with India.
The India deal is on here.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on it. We're just going to do it a different way.
The framework which is to be signed with India sometime soon, will that stand now?
Yeah,
and on the
nothing
decision,
changes.
nothing changes?
No, nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs, and we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, and I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually, but he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now, and we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
All right, to make sense of what this means for India and what this development, how this will unfold, I'm joined by CNBC TV 18's managing editor, Shireen Bhan. Good morning, Shireen. I have a $135 billion question to ask. What do you make sense of this big development, and how does it impact Indian importers and the markets?
Well, Archana, there's a lot of moving parts, but this is another Trump tariff weekend for all of us here. But here's what has happened last night. I think the US Supreme Court has unequivocally, in a 6-3 ruling, made it very clear that tariffs are taxes. That was the core argument of Neil Katyal in the Supreme Court, and essentially the Supreme Court ruling saying that tariffs are taxes. They're not saying no to tariffs. They're saying that the ability to impose tariffs is a congressional act. It requires legislative process. And that is the key. That is the sum and substance of the US Supreme Court ruling. Now, what is the way forward? And President Trump has picked up from the dissenting note, Justice Kavanaugh providing the dissenting note and suggesting ways in which President Trump and his administration can impose tariffs. And that is exactly what President Trump has chosen to do under Section 122, the 10% ad valorem tax or tariff that has now been imposed for a limited period of 150 days. Post that, they need to go to Congress. But of course, he's also said that they will look at other ways. 232, those tariffs remain in place, as we've been pointing out. But here's what is important. What happens to the trade deals? Iman Havez, they're reporting that at least as far as the rate is concerned, that is now clear, and that is what government sources have also confirmed to CNBC TV 18. The rate for Indian goods being imported into the US falls to 10% from 25%. Remember, 18 hadn't even come into the picture. So 25 to 10, that is what the import duty rate is going to be on Indian goods going to the US. But what happens to the trade deal? The USTR, Jamieson Greer, saying, our partners, and I'm quoting, our partners have been responsive and engaged in good faith negotiations and agreements despite the pending litigation. And we are confident that all trade agreements negotiated by President Trump will remain in effect. Remember, India and the US yet to formally ink that. We've only seen executive orders coming in. The trade deal in itself has not been inked just yet. That was supposed to happen sometime in March. And yesterday we heard from the Commerce Minister that the signing would take place in April. In fact, on the 23rd of February, the Indian negotiating team is expected to leave for the US.